Yo! Happy Friday. Loving the energy in the room right now. Brandon still needs a new alarm clock. The alarm clock that I have is perfectly fine. It works well. Shy boy. Okay. It is a furry little monster who wakes up at 7:30 every morning on the dot. And instead of being like, you know, super, maybe it is maybe it is an alarm clock that needs improvement, because what happens is Gizmo, my Chihuahua, wakes up at 7:30 every morning. Okay. And instead of like, you know, trying to get me up by licking my face constantly or dancing on me or, you know, doing something that dogs would do, what she does is she'll crawl into like a little nook in my arm or around my chest somewhere and just kind of lay there and just kind of wait for me to get up, because she knows she doesn't have to do much to wake me up. Like, once I'm up, I'm up, and I eventually just kind of get out of bed, but she'll just lay there and just wait. That's what she does. It's the cutest damn thing I've ever seen. What's up, everybody? How's your week been? How's your week going? We're at the weekend now. Funny how just being in a good mood really irritates unhappy people. Dude, that is so true. That is so true. There's something about misery. Like, misery really does love company. And if you're in a good mood around someone who's miserable, like, they just hate you. Brendan has furries. He's cheating on me. I have no other furries in my life, Tekru, other than you. You're the only furry I know. Gizmo. Yeah. Gizmo's my little alarm clock, man. She's the sweetest little alarm clock. I mean, you know, she's a Chihuahua, so if you come near me, she's gonna bite your face off. But otherwise, she's really cool. Today, there will be treats. My cats wake me up every morning at 5:30 for their icy water. It helps their kidneys. Their icy water? Oh. What's up, animal? Our dogs get icy water after they go outside, because right now, Texas is the surface of the sun. It is Satan's armpit. And so everything right now that you put outside just bakes. Absolutely bakes. We are at frying an egg on the pavement territory now. We've been under a heat advisory for the past few days, and I am over it. We just went outside yesterday for like 10 minutes to let the dogs go for a walk. And we both came back like, oh my God. That just happened to us. It was the worst. What's up, Brandon? My homie with another chromie. What's going on, Half-Baked? Homie with another chromie. I like that. 60 degrees here right now. Shut up, man. Rub it in. How you doing, Half-Baked? He had a furry smaller than your foot, Tech. Yeah, it's a tiny furry. My friend is Buddha is tired of the cell phone alerts. Man, I turned off all the alerts on my phone. Like pretty much all of them. My phone does not bump me for anything, with the exception of, like, I think my insurance company and my stocks. That's pretty much all I allow my phone to bump me for. I turned off all notifications for social media. Have you ever watched, The Social Dilemma? If you haven't watched The Social Dilemma yet, go watch that. It'll make you turn off all notifications for your phone. They are so good at mind controlling people just through the notifications on phones. You're just sitting there, you know, like they know when you're going to be most susceptible to getting on your phone and looking at an app. So they bump you at those times. That's how down to a science they've gotten things. Dude, just go into your phone, turn off all your notifications. No joke. Just do it. Trust me. It'll make you a much happier person. Today's actually a very sad day. We learned just hours ago that the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and I hope I'm saying that name right, it doesn't sound right. It's not Abe. You know what? We should probably find out how to say that word, huh? How to pronounce his name correctly. It is... Hold up. It is...
One simple but brilliant trick to cool your home in 90 seconds.
Thanks, YouTube. Really appreciate it.
We are looking at how to pronounce the name of Japanese politician who has served as Prime Minister of Japan and President of the Liberal Democratic Party since 2012. How do you go about pronouncing his name? Shinzo Abe.
Ah, I was right. So, Shinzo Abe has been slain. He was shot by a man who I have not really received too much information on yet. I'm not even going to speculate what his motivations are at the moment. I'm sorry for my wrinkly shirt. I do know that the gun that he used was homemade. I do know that he didn't die immediately. Apparently, he was gravely injured and died a little bit later. But here's what I do know. I do know that he was the longest serving prime minister in Japan. He was a great ally against the fight, in the fight against communism. He was a staunch friend to the American people, to our country. When it came to the Chinese, when it came to North Korea, Japan always had our back. And so it is very sad that someone like him would pass. Obviously, if anyone has more info while the stream is ongoing and finds out what the dude's motivations were, then by all means, let me know. But what I want to talk about, we're talking about a lot of stuff today, but what I want to talk about in relation to this is that this has been a moment where the world is mourning the passing of a great man. But the left can't stop itself from pushing its own nonsense. It has a narrative, and it has to get that narrative out. It absolutely has to get that narrative out. And to do that, it has taken to social media to say some very nasty things about Abe. This also includes a little bit of a hit. I would just say a hit against Abe. It was kind, but Joe Biden's response. They couldn't stop him, and why would they, from saying something political, important to the Western left, in their statement about him. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson. We're going to talk about Hunter Biden. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. The Biden crime family. Turns out that there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that is coming forward now, and it is a wonder that the American media, and it's not a wonder, we know why they won't, but it's almost, it shows you the depth of corruption that is happening in our media, in our White House, in our own government, that it's not being talked about more. So we're going to get all that done today. It's like 60 here right now. Oh my God, you guys are making me like super jealous right now. And I don't like that feeling. Why would you have notifications turned on? Yeah, just turn them all off. It's Abe. Yeah. That Galdern it already killed him, dirt. Motivation has changed a few times already. Oh, has it? Yeah, I'm sure, like, whenever something like this happens, you're initially going to get a lot of claims. It's like, oh, well, this guy clearly killed him because of X, Y, and Z. Oh, no, but he killed him because of this. And it's like, just wait. Just wait a minute. It'll come out. People want to rush to be the first, not rush to be the most factual. And don't get me wrong, we all make mistakes. All of us, including me. We all make mistakes. Just, sometimes I just feel like a lot of these mistakes wouldn't be made if you would just stop for a second. It'll probably keep changing for a while. Yeah. They never could end well. Yeah. Well, I mean, we just live in a time right now where, the more clicks you get, the more money you get. That's just the way it is. So people want to be first because if you're first, you get more clicks. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, you get the money still. And a lot of legacy media outlets can be as wrong as they want. It's not going to matter because they're still the legacy media. People are still going to consider them to be a source of like a proper source of news. Even people who know that they don't trust them, they still consider them a proper source of news. They'll still link back to ABC. And don't get me wrong, I mean, like, it's not, it's almost like we have this ingrained in our heads so deeply that, if ABC says something that seems factual and unpolitical, we'll still link to them as an authoritative source. New York Times, too. Like, it's just, it's weird how we have that mentality. And it's going to take a long time for our society to break it. He really disliked China and was open to hosting nuclear weapons in Japan as a deterrent to China. He stated that if Taiwan goes, then Japan would be next, and he's not wrong. China is not our friend. It is not the world's friend. It is a communist nation bent on spreading communism everywhere it can, and if it can't do it just by propaganda and economic pressure, then it will do so by force. Taiwan is a very good example of that. They are ready to use force to take Taiwan. Herd Hunter has now become the hunted. I'm not always proud of what I say. It turns out that there's some weird stuff going on behind the scenes. With business ventures featuring Biden and Hunter. So we're going to talk about that. When I was stationed in Japan, we had to do security at every port that a nuke sub or group came into port at because there was so much unrest caused by them just being there. You talking about like a lot of people in Japan didn't want nuclear weapons or just nuclear subs being there? Like what was the story with that? I'm actually curious. Hit the like button. TechRoo is correct. If you haven't hit the like button yet, please do that. It really helps us out with the algorithm. Japanese really don't like nuclear weapons half-baked in their constitution to not have nukes in their military. Oh, really? I did not know that. But it is true, though. Yeah, I never seen anything like it. They would throw rocks and shit at the subs. No joke. Wow, I did not know that. Does the I know that the Japanese... we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that here in a second. First, I want to cover this because I thought it was absolutely hysterical. Tucker Carlson demolishes journalist, calling him a racist in a must-see interview. You know me, I got to start out with something light. To kick off the show. For those of you who haven't seen this yet, this is Ben Smith. Ben Smith is a former reporter for the New York Times. By the way, everything I'm about to talk about is up at redstate.com right now. If you want to go follow along with me, you can. Go to redstate.com. Also, sign up for the VIP program. Use promo code Morse, M-O-R-S-E, on sign up. It will get you a discount. It really helps us out because they are consistently trying to take away or find excuses to take away our ad revenue. So it really helps us out when you guys give us a boost with the VIP program signups. So apparently Carlson sat down with Smith for an interview, and despite the fact that Ben Smith was originally being kind of nice, eventually he devolved, as he will, as any leftist will, into accusing Tucker Carlson of being a racist, effectively. So this was the back and forth. Former New York Times journalist spends 10 minutes trying to call Tucker Carlson a racist. It doesn't go well.
Wow. Nice closet.
Ben Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'm glad you agreed to join us.
Someone just texted me and said you were pretty tough with Taylor Lorenz, which I was heartened to hear, but it's easy to hurt her feelings. So I hope you'll check your privilege.
I'm just hoping you'll let me ask questions and not steamroll me, because you're a professional and I'm not.
Well, you're the tough one, Ben.
But I have been watching your show a lot.
I feel like he's already setting himself up to be like the good guy in this situation, and Tucker Carlson is just this horrible man who just steamrolls and talks over people and doesn't like I don't know. I kind of he's already setting himself up to be a little bit of a victim here.
And you spend a lot of time laughing about labels that are thrown at you. racist, white
What else can you do?
supremacist, the most host of the most racist show in the history of cable television. Actually, I'd rather not ask you about the labels, but sort of give you an opportunity to talk about what you believe. And to begin with, do you believe white people are superior to other races?
No, of course not. And the funny thing is, that's one of those. Let me
just stop on the yes/no question there, and just to put it a little differently before you respond, which is, do you think that white people have more of a claim
white people are
on
inherently
America?
superior in any way.
Do you think that white people have some claim on America that people of other races don't?
Of course not. I mean, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I think God made everybody, and therefore everyone has equal value in his eyes. That's
Solid.
The essential value of every person is the same.
Solid.
But the idea that I harbor some sort of deep racial animus is like, I mean, I think there are a lot of criticisms you could level at me. I think sometimes I overstate the case, I get pissed, I can be very nasty. You've been on the receiving end of that. I know you can vouch for that. But the idea that if you were to look at my texts or listen to my personal conversations or read my mind, you would find no instance where I'm like, I'm mad at black people. 100% of the people that I'm mad at are well-educated white liberals. In my mind, the sort of archetype of the person I don't like is like a 38-year-old female white lawyer with a barren personal life. That's who yells at me on air. So I always say to people like, you're racist.
Okay, let me.
Actually, I'm not mad at black people. Like, what are you talking about?
Let me show you. Let me show you. I think why people react this way. I think we have a clip. I just wanted to show you. Sydney? Can you play that?
In political terms, this policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries.
So Tucker, what's a legacy American?
People who were born here. Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people.
I feel like that should not be that hard to understand because he's made it very clear over the course of his show that when he talks about, people like legacy Americans, he's not referring to white people. Like, he's made that clear in the past. I don't understand why this is still no, I do understand why this is still a narrative. They need it to be a narrative. They need Tucker Carlson, who is the most watched person in cable news, who just so happens to be right-leaning. They need him to be a massive, evil racist.
People who are citizens, people who participated, generationally in our system, and a lot of them don't buy the program of the modern Democratic Party because it doesn't serve them. And so the center of the Democratic electoral strategy going forward, I'm not guessing,
What's up, Slow
they
DK?
talk about it constantly, you're a journalist, you must have noticed, is to bring in new people who will vote for them. Now that,
do you think,
let me just finish if you don't mind. This is not something that I made up or found on the internet. I don't even really go on the internet. This is something that Democrats, including, the architect of Obama's last victory, have talked about at great lengths in pieces, monographs, on television. They've written books about it. So this is not like some crackpot Alex Jones
think when you talk about
this is the central strategy of the Democratic Party. So to be like, I can't believe you said that, I'm putting it back to them.
You talked about generational investment. How many?
This drives me crazy right here. Tucker is right in the middle of giving a very good explanation as to why he's not a racist and what the Great Replacement theory he was discussing was about and who's talking about it and how it is absolutely something that the left is trying to engage in, given the fact that prominent leftists have discussed it. Yet, as that's happening, Ben Smith is doing his abject best to interrupt him and not make a point and try to move on to something I hate it. I hate it when people do that. It just really goes to show you that you're scared of what that person is trying to say, or that it's inconvenient to you.
Generations makes you a legacy American.
I'm just saying people who live here now, including immigrants.
Do you have any empathy? Do you have any empathy for somebody who sees that clip, somebody who's whose parents are from India, from China, who are Jewish, and say, "Wow, I don't think I just see that clip, and I don't really think this guy includes me in his vision of America."
Slow down. Okay. No, I don't have any, as you said, empathy for people.
Do you understand why they might think that?
Please let me.
Oh my God, let him finish.
I have no empathy for people who derive their judgments about anything from 30-second clips on Media Matters. I do an hour live every single night. If you want to know what I think, I don't know that there's anyone who's more transparent about it than I am. Not all of my views are correct. Not all of them are attractive. You may laugh at some of them. You may be offended by others, but I'm very clear about what I think. I believe that people are not the sum total of their genetics. I say that constantly, and as a Christian, I really mean it. I actually buy the kind of Dr. Seuss, please, version of race understanding, which is judge a person by what he does, not by how he looks. I actually believe that. I grew up in Southern California in the 70s, and I say it constantly.
You do, but yet somehow, Tucker, I guess the thing that, you have an hour every night, as you said. Let me, and I want to move on to some other questions.
Okay, don't filibuster me.
You are misunderstood, perhaps, in your view, a lot. Then, both by, as you said, kind of the New York Times, but also you keep having, sort of explicit white supremacists who have, on secret message boards who work for you, and you have to. I know this has been very painful for you in some cases.
I've never even met a white supremacist.
You have these folks. You have folks who have posted. You have a large number of people: Scott Greer, Blake Neff. I'm just curious why you've been sort of flypaper for these people on your staff.
You're not asking me a question.
That was the question. Why have you been flypaper for these racists?
Deep breath. I've never had a white supremacist work for me. I don't think I've ever talked to a white supremacist. Please let me finish.
And I don't want to fight about labels.
Hold on, slow down.
You just tried to put him on it.
I know that it's a slur. It's the worst thing one can be. I don't really understand the terms, but let me just say...
You've had to let people go who said objectionable stuff.
Slow down, Ben. I believe that people are not defined by their race, any race, black, white, Asian, pick a race. People are defined, their value derives from A, the fact they were created by God. I believe that. Maybe you don't. I do. And B, by what they do, by the choices they make, by who they are. They have agency. They're not part of some larger group. They're individuals. I believe in the individual. And I say that virtually every night. Now, if you don't hear that, or if you, for whatever reason, want to claim that I'm some racist, I don't know what to say to you. I'm stating my sincere views as reflected in my personal life and my professional life as clearly as I can.
Do you feel that in your own career you've been kind of discriminated against as a white Protestant?
No.
And I ask in part because I had been told that Roger Ailes, and that you'd sort of at some point expressed that Roger Ailes, the former head of Fox, had a preference for Irish Catholics, and that it kind of held you back. Was that?
I've been held back. And by the way, I can say this sincerely, if I could, that I've never in my life been unhappy except because of self-pity. Self-pity is, I'm speaking for myself, but I think it's true for most people. Self-pity is the root of misery. I really try not to feel self-pity. I have no grounds for it anyway. I've had
self-pity is one of the worst things we have in our society today.
I live where I want. I say what I want. I'm blessed, unlike a lot of journalists who are leading miserable lives. But I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't feel I've been discriminated against. But I do believe in fairness, and I don't think you should ever hire someone on the basis of his race or sex. That's grotesque to me. It's a violation of the basic promise of the country, which is we're going to bring people from around the world who may look different, be from different backgrounds, but we're going to treat them all the same, which is to say specifically on the basis of their ability and their virtue, on the choices they make, not...
He's saying all of this, which is absolutely correct, but you can tell that Ben Smith is not listening. He's hearing him, but he's not listening. He has, right now, an agenda. He needs to make this guy look like a racist in front of everybody. He needs to put him in the hot seat and make him look. Hopefully he screws up or says something contradictory or something in order to be able to push this moment and help America understand that Tucker Carlson is a great and evil man. He's super racist. He's a white supremacist. Everything that we've been saying about him is true. He is not interviewing Tucker Carlson. He's trying to get one over on Tucker Carlson. He has an agenda with Tucker Carlson.
Not on the genes they have. That's Nazi shit. I'm against that. I'm serious.
Let me ask you about a different subject, which is January 6th. And I think...
Well, no, I kind of like this stuff. You're not responding to me.
No, I'm
So does
not
that
responding
sound-
to you.
Exactly.
I'm
Let me ask
interviewing you.
a question. Does that sound racist to you? You've just suggested I'm a white supremacist.
You
Did
know,
I
that,
just
yeah,
articulate-
I found that clip disturbing. I think the
what I
language
just
of
said,
replacement
that
theory,
clip,
which you've
that-
popularized,
hold on,
the language of
hold on.
replacement theory is like specifically the language used by
The language of
neo-Nazis to
replacement
recruit
theory
people
is-
to their cause. It has been, obviously, I'm not suggesting some straight line between words and actions, but it is the phrase
I'm
that has been
asking-
used by mass shooters. I wonder if you don't have any
So this
compunction
is
or
why
regret
no one
about popularizing
believes-
that?
This
didn't
is
popularize
why
it, is the
you
funny
are
part.
considered correctly a propagandist and not a journalist. Because I just explained in detail, with total sincerity, what I believe. You ignored it and invoked mass shooters. So that's not what you
I
just
asked
did.
you how you felt about it. I actually do want to ask you
Well,
about
how I
something.
feel about mass shooting? I
I'd like
totally
to ask
opposed to
about.
it.
I'd like to ask you about
Thank you.
something that actually I think we
This
probably
is
have more
revealing
common
how
ground
ridiculous you are, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
evident to any fair person watching.
on. I guess I'm trying to give you an opportunity to respond to
No,
things that
you're
have been
not.
said and written about you. But let's
You're
move to
like,
something.
white supremacist,
But
mass
I'm really
shooter,
not
great
looking
replacement
to
theory. And
have
I'm
a.
like, does this
shouting
sound like
match
racist
with you.
ideology? And you're like, I'm disturbed by the Media Matters clip for 8 seconds. Like,
The
are you being serious?
Okay. It's almost. It's almost. If there's one thing that we can take away from this right now, it's that you can literally say to a leftist, "No, I have tons and tons and tons of evidence that I am not a racist, that I do not believe in racist things." Yet the leftist will continuously try to accuse you, and it's almost like Ben Smith is trying to keep his worldview intact right now by trying to prove to himself that Tucker Carlson is a racist. Tucker Carlson's not a racist. He's not a racist. He's never done anything racist in his entire life. He's never said anything racist in his entire life. The whole Great Replacement theory is something that the Democrats have openly talked about as they are trying to push something called a Great Replacement. You look at it all the time. They want white people gone. They do. They want minorities to overtake the white population. Now, talking about that doesn't necessarily make a person racist, and disagreeing with it, you know, the objective or the objective evil of the Great Replacement theory, because it is racist, talking about it and disagreeing with it is not racist. It just means, hey, white people shouldn't be wiped out because they're white. Like, it's not that hard to comprehend. Yet Ben Smith and the rest of these loonies on the left can't seem to get that. Because they think that if you're trying to protect white people from anything or defend white people from anything, you're suddenly a racist. You cannot be pro-white in any way, shape, or form, or you're a racist. Between these two men right here, this dude right here is probably far more racist than this dude ever will be. That is ridiculous, man. Ben Smith is a joke. He's such a joke. But it goes to show you, it really does go to show you, they don't care. They don't care what you say in your defense. They have a mentality, they have a mindset, and they can't break free from it. They absolutely cannot break free from it. They have to, at all times, push their worldview. They cannot let go of their own. They have to put. They are not capable, or at least many of them aren't, of releasing themselves from it. And I'll give you a perfect example because this leads to this. The White House response to the assassination of Shinzo Abe is absolutely disgusting. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. It took them forever to get it out in the first place. It took them absolutely forever to get it out. Dude, Vladimir Putin beat Joe Biden to releasing a statement about this assassination of the leader of one of our closest allies. Dark, how do you say your name? I'm just going to call you Dark. Dark Gaming. A dumb interrogation is 100% what that was. A dumb interrogation is probably by far the best way to describe that whole interaction between Tucker Carlson and Ben Smith. A dumb interrogation. All he's doing is throwing shade for the purpose of throwing shade. Literally no facts to back it up. This isn't an interview. It's not an interview because interviews tend to be. Look, I give interviews, all right, and I love to give interviews because it is a chance to have a conversation with an interesting person. All right. People have stories and backgrounds. They have beliefs, things to say. There is a person underneath the public person, and having an interview is a chance to really get to know that person, which is one of the reasons you have interviews in the first place. I mean, you could have business interviews where you talk about the thing that you're doing, but like a real sit-down interview, like the kind that Ben Smith was allegedly supposed to be doing right there, that it wasn't a chance to get to know Tucker Carlson. It was to point a finger at Tucker Carlson, say, you're a white supremacist because you've talked about this 10-second, no, it wasn't even 10, it was like 5-second clip. You're a racist because of this 5-second clip. Defend yourself. Okay, but you're still a racist. It's not even, it's a dumb interrogation. Been watching for a while, just never participated in the live chat. Well, thanks for participating, man, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. It's a hive mind. Oh, absolutely, like a bunch of insects. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did he come from NPR? We're about to talk about NPR. You can just call me Dark. That last part of the name is a whole story. Hopefully I get to hear it one day. Well, Putin beating Biden to the response is natural. Joe had to get out of bed, trip over the carpet, and put his dentures. Well, to be fair, Vladimir Putin didn't have to wait for someone else to write up some comments and forward them to the teleprompter guy who is probably asleep. Tekru, I actually, looking at, if you read, and I'm going to read the response, I actually was looking at it and I was like, this was written by a third party trying to make someone sound personable. That's what this is. You're about to see it. What's up, Delacroix? These guys would argue that lions eating antelope on the Serengeti is an argument for gun control. Oh, absolutely. Don't forget, changes depends too. Yeah. No, that was likely his inspiration. So so Shinzo Abe is assassinated. Very sad day, not just for Japan but for the world. He was from all intents and purposes, from what I heard, he's a great guy. Very staunch friend to the American people. And again, the leader of the free world apparently wanted to take his sweet time in getting out a response to it, a statement about it. But reading this response, it sounds like somebody wrote it for Biden without even consulting Biden. It was just written for him. I'm honestly curious if Joe Biden even would remember who Shinzo is. He said, I am stunned, outraged, and deeply saddened by the news that my friend Abe Shinzo, former Prime Minister of Japan, was shot and killed while campaigning. This is a tragedy for Japan and for all who knew him. I had the privilege to work closely with Prime Minister Abe. As vice president, I visited him in Tokyo and welcomed him to Washington. He was a champion of the alliance between our nations and a friendship between our people, the longest-serving Japanese prime minister. His vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific will endure. Above all, he cared deeply about the Japanese people and dedicated his life to their service. All of this is nice, but it lacks, I don't know, there's just something very impersonal about it. And maybe I'm being too hard on Biden. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like it was written by someone who is remembering someone that fondly. Even at the moment he was attacked, he was engaged in the work of democracy. And here's where it takes a really bad turn. This is where it gets ridiculous. While there are many details that we do not know yet, we know that violent attacks are never acceptable and that gun violence, my dog is very mad about this, gun violence always leaves a deep scar on the communities that are affected by it. Why would you throw that in there? Why would you make it about guns? Why would you make it about gun violence? You can't put it down for 5 seconds. You can't put it down for this, for the death of a world leader. You can't put it down. here's the thing. Japan. This is the law in Japan. To be clear, Japan has incredibly strict gun control laws. Since 1958, their laws state that no person, this is a quote, no person shall possess a firearm or firearms or sword or swords. None. Apparently, you can get shotguns and airsoft rifles, but even to get those, you have to go through miles and miles and miles of red tape. This was the gun that he was apparently shot by. It was made, it was homemade. That's the shooter, by the way. This is the gun. Put together by what looks like duct tape or electrical tape, some pipes, I don't know, CO2, I don't know. Maybe he had the ability to, somehow he got gunpowder, I don't know how. This was a homemade weapon. If you're going to make this about gun violence, then let's talk about gun violence then. In Japan, guns are highly, 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 highly illegal. This guy, they're so illegal that this guy couldn't steal one. He definitely couldn't buy one. So he made one. Humanity possesses the technology and know-how to create guns. Let's say tomorrow you get rid of all of them. People will find a way to make them. Case in point, this dude made one here in Japan, and he used it to assassinate Shinzo Abe. But the White House, the left in particular, can't stop themselves. And they had to turn the death of a great man into a moment of, well, into a political moment. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. This shows you just how neck deep they are in their own ideology, that they cannot stop themselves. It's like they have that worldview, just like Ben Smith. They have that worldview. And they have to reinforce it for themselves and for you. Like, they can't let you forget about it. It gets worse. I told you we were going to talk about NPR. NPR might have done one of the most disgusting things to demonstrate that they need to have public funding taken away. Batteries and model rocket igniters, probably. I mean, is that a battery or railgun? Maybe. Even if reality contradicts it, the narrative must be pushed. Exactly. It has to be. Constantly. We talked about this the other day when it came to our entertainment. You know, the reason that you're seeing it so much in our TV shows and our movies is because they cannot stop it. They cannot give you a break. You have to have it in your face at all times, no matter what. No matter what. If that means that you have to insert some sort of narrative into, a divisive narrative, into a statement about a slain world leader, then that's what you do. The leftists, they absolutely have to put it everywhere. They're like narrative whores. As Americans, we were able to buy swords, but they couldn't be sharpened. I've bought a couple sharpened swords in my time. It's not hard to make traditional black powder. You just need charcoal, sulfur, and saltpeter. I mean, yeah, it's not. Animal just brings up a really good point. I mean, like, first off, let's say that it is like technically a rail gun, you know, something that uses an electrical charge through batteries or something. Even if you didn't have that, again, it's not hard to make gunpowder. You know, the banning of guns just makes it more difficult for you to have one. If you truly, truly want one, you can make one. And now we have 3D printing. You know, it's not. This dude made it out of some metal pipes and tape. Like, come on. Like, it should be a wake-up call to the world. Like, I guess, nobody's safe, even in countries that have, the strictest of gun laws. It shouldn't be that hard to put together what Americans are trying to say. You see a toggle switch? It's like a gun right out of Fallout 4. It really is. It really is. Like, it kind of is, really. You can buy replica swords on the Ginza, but they have no edge. But, I mean, I think it's probably not hard to sharpen one, though. It's just metal. You can find a way to sharpen it, right? Gave a few swords away as presents. They are nice, but they are dull. Yeah. Who the F wants a dull sword? Never made sense to me. I mean, if it's just on your wall as a display thing, like if somebody, makes the Master Sword, although it'd be cool to have a really sharp Master Sword. But, if it's just there for display purposes, I could understand why you just want a dull version of it, God forbid anything happens, it falls off, hits a kid. Dull swords apparently hurt more, if it can penetrate at all. I mean, at that point in time, it just becomes a big, blunt object, right? With good swinging capability. I guess if you want to display it, but a real Samaria is a ton of cash just to collect dust. I mean, I guess some people are into that. I used to collect swords as a teenager, some of them were very sharp. But after a while, I was like, I don't know, why am I collecting this? I sent you something on Twitter. A Greek news channel aired a piece using a picture of Hideo Kojima. Are you serious? For real?
Νεκρό γιατί ήταν μαζί του δυσαρεστημένος, απογοητευμένος. Η αστυνομία μαθαίνει ότι είχε υπηρετήσει στις ειδικές δυνάμεις του πολεμικού ναυτικού και δίδασκε ως καθηγητής σε ιατρική σχολή μαθήματα φυσιοθεραπείας για ασθενείς με άνοια. Είχε πάθος με τον Τσε Γκεβάρα.
Bro, come on, man. Hideo Kojima, really? The creator of the Metal Gear series? Of PT, of Death Stranding. Come on. See, this is what I'm talking about. We all make mistakes, but slow down a second. It's always fun around here. Tell me about it. Glock works for me. Half LOL doesn't collect dust either. Saying as a stand-in for the assassin, that is such a... The only thing that Hideo Kojima ever assassinated was the character of Konami. But from what I understand, Konami deserved it. They all think Japanese people look the same. I guess so, man. That's I mean, how do you confuse Hideo Kojima? He's only one of the most famous game developers in the history of the world. I'm not a big ingester of soy, so I stay away from Glocks, but my motto. Revolver guy? Dude, I want a new army revolver. Retrofitted to fit 45. Oh god, 45 ammo, that would be so cool. I've wanted one for forever. I'm not saying they do. That's what this Greek network was implying by using a picture of it. Yeah, I know. That is on purpose. Oh, you think that was on purpose? Someone got something against Kojima? I wonder what they were saying. I mean, it's all Greek to me. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Had to get the pic with the hat. Yeah, I know, with the communist hat on it. The Ushanka. That's a bad look right there. It's not the best. All right, so NPR reminds us why it needs to be defunded with its latest tweets. After the news came out that Abe was assassinated, NPR releases this tweet right here. And it's gross. This is what they said. Former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, a divisive arch conservative, and one of the nation's most powerful and influential figures, has died after being shot during a campaign speech Friday in Western Japan, hospital's officials said. Okay, so NPR calls him a divisive arch-conservative, which I didn't... What is an arch-conservative? Is there... Where do they get this? Like, do they have some sort of thesaurus around and they're just looking for ways to make people sound way more scary and dangerous than they actually are? Because it was like Ultra MAGA. MAGA was bad, but hang on, we've got Ultra MAGA coming out. Where are they getting these words? Where are they getting the arch-conservative? Arch-conservative. Or arc-conservative, excuse me, arc-conservative. Archangel, arc-conservative, right. So, arc-conservative. What does that even mean, bro? Can someone help me out with that? Anybody in the chat got any idea what arch-conservative is supposed to mean? Is it supposed to mean like chief of all conservatives? The top conservative? Destined to fight the devil at the end, the leftist devil at the end of time? NPR spitting facts, making up words to call people. No one's ever called me an art conservative, but damn, can they please? I'm not gonna lie, it sounds a little cool, okay? I'm just saying, art conservative sounds kind of badass, all right? But here's the thing, NPR didn't stop there. NPR deleted the tweet, right? People went after him, they deleted the tweet. They were like, that's not good to call somebody, okay? So they deleted it. But it turns out they decided to come back. This is their new tweet. They retweeted, they posted it again. Shinzo Abe, the former Japanese prime minister and ultra-nationalist, was killed at a campaign rally on Friday. Ultra-nationalist. Ultra-nationalist is what the left likes to say whenever they are trying to tie you to white supremacy. They are so leftist up at NPR that they are trying to make a Japanese world leader seem or sound or be in relation to white supremacy. Jesus Cristo. These people can't put it down. Like they're just so absorbed in their own bullshit that they cannot stop themselves. They can't turn it off. And when you compare it, by the way, when you compare it to some of the stuff that they have said in the past toward other world leaders, let me pull that up. Toward other world leaders, let's see here. It was this one. This is for Fidel Castro, one of the most prominent international figures in the last half of the 20th century. Castro inspired both passionate love and hate. Many who later lost faith in him can remember how they once admired the man who needed just a dozen men to launch a Cuban revolution. Cuban revolution versus a divisive art conservative and one of the nation's most powerful and influential figures. These people are like... Y'all remember when who was the guy that we killed during the Trump administration? I think we killed him. And the Washington Post came out and called him like some sort of like learned scholar or something of that nature. Like they're so nice to evil people. And it's like, whose side are you on? Art conservative. Anyone to the right of Leon Trotsky. Yeah. Ultra MAGA art conservative. That's like Goku at Ultra Instinct. Okay? That's what that is. Shinzo Abe was powering up. He went from, somehow, despite being Japanese, he went from MAGA, okay, to Ultra MAGA. All right. To Ultra... To Ultra MAGA arc conservative. And then after that would have been Ultra Instinct arc conservative. Ultra MAGA man guy. Art conservative. Art conservative, baby! This entire chat, I deem you arc conservatives. Go wear it proudly. Go wear it proudly. Japan seems like it would be a funny country to visit. We actually have some people who lived in Japan in chat. Did they steal that statement from China? Bonchi actually said something to that nature in response to their tweet. How much is China paying you? And I was like, ooh, maybe they are, because China is apparently, I mean, it's got its, look, hang on, let me see if I can find it. There was something. Yeah, here it is. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. The Post Millennial has it up. Department of Homeland Security employees charged in Chinese spying and harassment operation. Meaning that there were people within our government who were being paid off by the Chinese in order to conduct harassment operations. It would not surprise me if there were some people at NPR getting some under-the-table cash from the Chinese in order to push some agendas. I'm not a tinfoil hat guy, right? I actually don't. I tend to look at a lot of conspiracy theories with a lot of grains of salt, right? But whenever you see China over and over again getting their hands and their mitts into politicians, into activists, into businesses, groups and stuff, you start to go, yeah, that's feasible. It's absolutely feasible. Calls to defund NPR over is talked of flawed Declaration of Independence. So we need to talk real fast about the funding. The funding that NPR gets. So literally last month, according to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR, so the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is a business. It's a private business that the government shoves money to through grants and all sorts of stuff. CPB then takes that money and hands it to NPR. Now, I want to say this right off the bat. NPR and its public broadcasting, the public funding that it gets does not equal out to, a good, huge portion of its funding. But enough of it. Right now, according to the Corporate for Public Broadcasting, which funds NPR, they recently received a $50 million increase in funding from the federal government, totaling out to $525 million, thanks to the House and Senate passing the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2022. Right? So they got that money. They're going to turn around. They're going to hand it to NPR. What do they hand it for? NPR has a very big operating budget, right? There's a small chunk of it that comes from public funding, and when I say that, I mean like directly from the public, meaning like, you might write a check yourself. But it's enough. It's enough to understand that our government is willing to hand over $500 million to the organization that hands NPR money. That should be troubling enough. I wanted to remind you that CPP got over $500 million from our government, which hands some of that money to NPR. As you're probably aware, this is not the first time NPR exposed itself as a hyper-partisan propaganda organization. As Red State covered last Tuesday, the organization has gotten progressively more leftist over time. For instance, it had a tradition of reading the Declaration of Independence on July 4th. That had been ongoing for over 30 years. This was scrapped this year so that one of its hosts could discuss equality with all the partisan sentiments you might expect. As Jarrett Stepman of the Daily Signal noted, back in 2021, NPR effectively began allowing its reporters to engage in open bias, allowing them to effectively use NPR as an activist platform. In 2021, NPR gave the green light to its reporters to engage in direct activism. It has complained about conservatives' websites covering issues that serve conservative causes, while committing round-the-clock programming obsessively focused on race and gender. Some of the new programming is downright unintentionally hilarious. NPR did a segment about decolonizing fitness. It recently ran a piece about how Americans can cope with hearing about stories from the Ukraine war. Good God. This is from Newsmax. Calls to defund NPR is over its talk of flawed Declaration of Independence. So, this is some of the figures that I referred to earlier. According to the organization's recent financial statements, any public money it receives, which accounts for less than 4% of its $739 million 2020 operating budget, is directed from its grants and capital funding from larger corporations for public broadcasting, CPB, which serves as a go-between from the federal government to the radio network. The NPR balance sheet shows this money as part of $26,776,962 in cash or cash equivalents, while CPB's financial reports show a proposed federal appropriation from Congress of $445 million for the fiscal year of 2021, with about $99 million of that going to public radio stations, NPR. Of that, $69 million goes to grants for all public radio stations, and another $22 million specifically in grants for national program production and acquisition. According to NPR, the organization had $199 million in property and equipment assets in 2020, with the lion's share of its income, $457 million, coming from pledges and net investments. Republicans tried unsuccessfully to defund the organization in 2011 when the House passed a bill 228 to 192, a week after NPR fired its chief executive at the time, after he was caught on video saying the organization did not need federal tax dollars to survive. They fired him because they wanted the taxpayer dollars to continue to be funneled in. Honestly, if it's not that big of a deal and NPR does not get that much money from federal tax dollars, or us, I should say, let's be more accurate, then why did they need to fire him over it? Why can't he just say, yeah, we actually don't need it to survive. We get donations from viewers like you and call it a day. Why did they fire him over it? Why did they let him go? Seems to be pretty important if they were willing to fire him over it. This place, as you can see, has become NPR. Katarina Z, thank you so much for the sub. As you can see, NPR has become a communist hellhole. Okay, it wants to talk very nicely about dictators and evil men, but it's willing to not only openly insult on Twitter, freedom fighters, good men. Okay, but it's willing to ditch everything that is American in order to get hypercritical about it. Okay, to draw discussions constantly about race and identity politics. Okay, clearly it has something against capitalism and conservatives. It is a radical leftist propaganda outlet, and I do not understand why we need to fund it. It doesn't seem like it needs any more funding from us. I'm pretty sure that if we stopped funding it, NPR would go on. It would. NPR would go on. But now I wouldn't be involved. You wouldn't be involved by the utilization of your tax dollars that you pay the government in funding their nonsense. China's always making moves. They are playing 8D chess while the rest of the world is playing 4D. They have ambitions about world domination. That's not even a question. They absolutely do. They want to spread their government style to everybody. Communists are miserable people, and if there's one thing that miserable people love, it's company. 50 million reasons to make you go, exactly. 525, to be specific. 500 million reasons. LOL was going to say the same thing. China is the most definitely playing 8D chess. Yeah. Follow the money. As usual, follow the money. Ever heard of Tencent? No, I haven't. Always follow the money. I invest in stocks, won't touch anything Chinese at all. I've never heard of Tencent. What is that? NPR didn't ever read the Constitution, breaking a 30-year tradition. Yeah, it was they were doing it for 33 years now. They would read the Declaration of Independence on July 4th. And this time they stopped because they wanted to talk about equality and equity. Does anyone know the percent the Chinese own in this country from companies to land? I heard not long ago that the Chinese were busy buying up tons and tons and tons and tons of land. I think that they were aiming at Alaska too. And that's scary to think about. I do know that at one point in time, the Chinese helped us build a freeway here in Texas. I didn't know that until later. But yeah, they apparently they funded the building of it. This is a good question, Shy Boy. One we will never ever get a real answer to ever. No, I don't, but it seems to be a lot. I was thinking that in my area, if you don't actively seek out the real news, all we have on local TV is ABC, NBC, NPR, and the college stations. So it's no wonder why people are so confused. I was reading not that long ago about how I can't remember the name of it, but it's apparently owns all the affiliates for, I think it was either CBS or NBC or something like that. And they were basically telling them to stop pushing actual news and start dealing more in social justice talk about goings on in the local area. They were no longer supposed to just talk about regular news. They had to push the social justice angle. I think it was, I can't, was it media? Hang on. This is going to drive me crazy now. And I think I actually have. An email from them, believe it or not. Oh man, I can't find it now. I just received something from them and I was like, wow. Like, not that Cumulus, is it Cumulus? Was it Cumulus that did it? I think maybe it was Cumulus. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. I remember it's like a big station. It's like a company that owns a bunch of stations, radio stations, news stations. It's kind of crazy. And they were openly pushing for that. And I was like, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad if our local news stations stop actually reporting the news. And people quit over it. Because they were like, then we're not pushing the news. We're just pushing propaganda at this point. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be part of it. Tencent video game company listed on the stock market right along with Alibaba too and others. Oh. Tencent, at least from what I know, is a big video game development company in China that has been investing in a lot of video game companies, like the biggest ones like Activision Blizzard. Really? Are they one of the reasons that it became such crap, Blizzard? Like that, oh my god, Blizzard became intolerable. Those are bad options, honestly. Media Matters. Media Matters is dangerous. Tencent is the Chinese media outfit that invests in our cultural items, movies, and music. Yep. I'm telling you guys, they know. They know. The West taught the Chinese that honestly, you could take control of entertainment and you can really push anything, any message on anyone. I don't know how my parents were so based growing up. Cumulus Media sounds right. Yeah, I think it was Cumulus. I could be wrong, but I'll look into it later, but damn. I thought Tencent was the crack dealer on the corner. What's up, Tencent? Tencent has a lot of say-so in what gets put in games that are released in China. So they're kind of like the same. They're not the same people who control Disney, I imagine, but I imagine they work for the same government board that does. Wow, I didn't know Tencent got into other parts of media as well. That's interesting. I'm gonna look into that. That's scary to think about. That there's, it's not. I'm not surprised by it at all. I'm not even remotely surprised by it. All right. I wanted to get into this too. Smoking gun. Biden's sale of oil from strategic reserve went to Chinese company connected to Hunter Biden. Speaking of China, Red State reported on Thursday how Joe Biden had sold some of the oil from our strategic petroleum reserve to China, and that Republicans were demanding answers as to why. Tucker Carlson and said Biden should be impeached over it. I noted the concerns that causes for national security, and it also raised questions given the connections between the Biden family and China in the past. Now, there's more. Joe Biden is selling oil to a Chinese government company that is also continuing to buy Russian oil. Biden's Energy Department in April announced the sale of 950,000 strategic petroleum reserve barrels to Unipec, the trading arm of the China Petrochemical Corporation. That company, which is commonly known as Sinopec, is wholly owned by the Chinese government. The Biden administration claimed that the move would, quote, address the pain Americans are feeling at the pump and help lower energy costs. How? How? Can he explain that? How? How is he doing that? It seems to me that if you're handing it over to China and selling it, how is it helping us? That would be bad enough, selling to a company directly owned by the Chinese government and basically helping China build up their reserve while depleting our own stores. But the company is also connected to Hunter Biden. Power of the Future founder Daniel Turner admonished Biden for selling, quote, raw materials to the communist Chinese for them to use as they want. We were assured Biden was releasing this oil to America so it could be refined for gasoline to drive down prices at the pump. So, right off the bat, they're just lying to the American people, Turner told the Washington Free Beacon. What they're saying they did and what they did are not remotely related. Turner also said the decisions highlights the Biden's family relationship with China. Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is tied to Sinopec. In 2015, a private equity firm he co-founded bought a $1.7 billion stake in Sinopec Marketing. Sinopec went on to enter negotiations to purchase Gazprom in March, 1 month after Biden administration sanctioned the Russian gas giant. Can y'all imagine what this would look like if this was Trump and Trump's children? Could y'all imagine the media, the swarm that would come their way if this was the Trump family? It would be utter bedlam from the mainstream media. Bedlam. Because here we have China tied to the Biden family business-wise, and they're making business deals behind the scenes with our enemy during a gas crisis. Oh my God. I am honest to God. If you really want to see just how corrupt our media is, its relationship to the Biden crime family. And I like that phrase. Normally I'm not into that kind of stuff, but it is absolutely true. The Biden crime family. Utilizing the federal government, your taxpayer dollars, to conduct what I'm pretty sure are illegal operations. Tencent was initially invested in Maverick, but they backed out, leading to replacing the controversial Taiwanian flag on Cruz's jacket. Oh, really? If it were Trump, we'd be covering impeachment hearings today. Oh, absolutely. If this was the Trump family, they would be in jail. The next prison. Yeah, exactly. And it'd be 24-hour news coverage of it. CNN wouldn't be able to shut up about it. MSNBC would be having a field day. ABC, NBC, all these people would be going ballistic. You wouldn't be able to walk past a working speaker without hearing about it. It gets worse. Hunter Biden's laptop has been a gold mine for exposing the depravity of the Biden family seemingly weekly. Some new, more disturbing revelation is revealed. Recently, the president's son was implicated in a Russian human trafficking ring, with money from Joe Biden himself being used to pay the prostitutes. Naturally, because the Bidens play for the right team, though, as we've been discussing, the mainstream media still largely won't touch the story. That's given the White House the excuse to simply say they won't comment on anything from the laptop, an answer that would have never satisfied the press if it involved anyone a mile away from Trump. But while partisan journalists continue to run interference for the president and his family, a DOJ investigation into Hunter Biden is apparently heating up and is much farther reaching than originally reported. CBS reports Hunter Biden is under investigation for tax fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, as well as whether Hunter and business associates complied with foreign lobbying laws, particularly while Joe Biden was vice
Based on
president.
our investigative unit's reporting, the U.S. Attorney in Delaware has been probing a number of issues. They include tax fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, as well as whether Hunter James Biden and their business associates complied with foreign lobbying laws. What I can also tell you based on our reporting is that there's a lot of noise and static in the system. Based on my experience, that can be an indicator of conversations and discussions between the two parties on whether they can reach some kind of plea agreement.
There is so much information floating around about the dirty dealings, the dark money, the immorality of the Biden administration. It is unbelievable to me that we have a media that absolutely refuses to look into it. While they are still so busy trying to peg Trump for a riot that he wasn't even a part of. This is a nasty time right now. We are so our media, our politicians, our activists, partisan hacks all. So much so we're actually funding it in a way. That's how deep into the shit we are. Should we take plea agreement to mean slap on the hand with a wet noodle that keeps it out of the press? Noob, you brought up a really good point. I sincerely doubt that anything will happen to Hunter Biden. I sincerely doubt that anything will happen to Joe Biden. The DOJ is investigating. I don't trust that. That effectively at this point in time, it's the White House looking into whether the White House did anything wrong, and I guarantee you the White House is going to find that the White House did nothing wrong. It is, in fact, an internal investigation at this point. You know? I'm telling you that whenever Republicans get into office, if they don't do anything about everything that we have learned, then they're not worth a damn. They're not worth anything. The Republicans have so much cleaning up to do whenever they get in. And if this slips through the cracks, if no one goes down for this, what is the point of the Republican Party? What is the point? The Democrats are clearly corrupt. There's evidence laying everywhere. That laptop alone should have been enough to have impeachment charges brought against Joe Biden, to warrant investigations that, and I'm not just talking about committee hearings. I'm talking about hardcore investigations. Committee hearings are just a platform for politicians to show off for social media at this point. I mean real investigations. That's how corrupt we are as a nation right now. That these people clearly, there's evidence galore. But you won't see nothing about it. White House again blames Putin when asked about the 88% of Americans who think the country's on the wrong track. So you know it, I know it. We're a nation that is currently in the grasp of one of the most corrupt regimes we have ever seen. People know it. People are waking up to it. This is why like 1 million plus people swap from Democrat to Republican. All right? They're tired of this. They're tired of the media. They're tired of all these people. All right? There's clearly something wrong here, and yet continuously, they try to paint this picture like nothing's wrong, like everything's great. This is the greatest economy in history. I love this question and this response. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Good, Peter.
Thanks, Green. Why do you think it is that 88% of people in this country, polled by Monmouth, think the country is on the wrong track?
So I'll say this. The president understands what the American people are going through.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't understand where he is half the time.
He understands that gas prices are high because of Putin's tax hike, because of the war that Putin...
Sorry, I don't mean to be a pause, Andy, but we covered this in a previous episode. This is not Putin's price hike. And I'm not out here defending Putin at all. I think Putin's a piece of crap, okay? But let's just real quick have a little reminder. The whole reason that we're in this situation is because Biden made one mistake after another. On day one of his presidency, he started making, like, he promised he would too. This is actually before he actually became president. He promised people that he would make oil companies, oil refineries, stuff like that, that they were all going to have a really hard time under his administration. His administration hits on day one. He starts piling on the red tape. He cancels the Keystone XL pipeline. He does everything in his power to make fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, all of that much harder to operate in this country. Then the Ukraine war hits because Joe Biden had opened up the Nord Stream pipeline. He released the regulations from it or whatever, allowing Russia to do what it needed to do in order to start the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war starts. All right. Joe Biden can no longer buy the cheap oil from Russia because we were buying tons of oil from Russia, but it made them look bad. You can't have Ukrainian flag-waving leftists and also be buying oil from Russia. That doesn't look right. So then he stops buying the oil from Russia. Our gas prices soar even more. He starts pointing fingers at everyone but him and his administration, including Putin. It's not Putin's price hike, okay? He could easily begin to solve the problem right now by lifting the red tape that he initially imposed on oil businesses here in America, but he won't. Instead, he is too busy trying to blame foreign powers for his mistakes. That's the bottom line. He made the mistakes, and he is trying to blame everyone but himself. And he thinks the American people are stupid because we don't see this. You know, he thinks we don't see this. He thinks that we don't notice. And you'll notice, I've noticed this, he doesn't attack the gas and oil companies as much as he did not too long ago anymore. Because every time he does, the oil companies come back and go, no, we can drill, we can do this. You're not letting us. We've got government bearing down on us on all sides at all times. All you have to do is tell them to stop and we can just start. It's not Putin's price hike.
The brutal war that Putin has taken on in Ukraine, and their brave fight to fight for their democracy. That's what we're seeing here. And also the food insecurity, the food cost has skyrocketed. And that's why the president has done everything that he can to blunt those high prices. That's why he's tapped into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We saw a historic amount of barrels coming out a day, 1 million a day. That's why he is doing the homegrown biofuels, the ethanol 15, making that available this summer, which is not normally available this summer, so that we can try and bring down those costs. And that's why he's going to continue to work to make sure we lower those costs. Look, but again, we understand what the American people are feeling. We're doing everything that we can. We have a plan. Here's the thing. We have a plan. Republicans do not have a plan. What they want to do is take away rights from the American people.
But
what? that was a reach. That was a reach for something, anything to end off on, in order to take the pressure off of the Democrats, take it off of the Biden administration. The Republicans don't have a plan. No, we do. Republicans do have a plan. Republicans have had a plan for a long time. Our plan was working because if you'll recall, we were paying less than $2. I think like $1.25 for fuel. When Republicans were in charge, we have a plan. We know how this works. We know how and what to do. Liar.
Do you think it's possible that your plan just is not popular with the American people right now?
I don't think it's that our plan is not popular with the American people. We know that the American people are feeling the high cost. We understand what they are feeling. Because when you look at inflation, when we look at where we are economically, and we are stronger economically than we have been in history. When you look at
who hears that and goes, yeah, that's true. That's true. I know we're paying more at the pump. I know I'm paying more at my grocery store. I know that certain items at the grocery store I can't get. We have a food shortage. Our inflation is out of control. But yeah, this is the strongest economy in all of history. At this point in time, I think Karine Jean-Pierre is just saying whatever comes to her mind that sounds good. I don't think that she even believes half of what she's saying. I really don't. I think she's just saying it because it's just something to fill the time until she gets to stop being on this podium and can go cry in a corner somewhere else. By the way, she's the last one standing in the communications team. I want to point that out. She is the last person in the communications team, the all-women communications team that Joe Biden hired. Remember that? That was a big deal. Everyone else has quit. She's the last one standing.
the unemployment numbers at 3.6%, when you look at the jobs numbers, more than 8.7 million of new jobs created. That is important, but we understand that gas prices are high, and we understand that food costs are high, and that is because of a once in a generation pandemic and also Putin's war, and that's just the facts.
So if you think that your plan is popular with the American people, is it just that the plans are not being communicated properly, and is that why the communications director is leaving?
Oh, that's where you were going with this question. No, that's very slick there of you, Peter.
Well, why is she really leaving?
I mean, well, she said why she is leaving. Look, let me just say something. Wait, no. You're asking me.
That at a time that a historic number of people think the country's on the wrong track, somebody who's been a part of Biden world for as long as anybody here says that she is leaving.
Well, first let me just say, I explained that we understand what the American public is feeling. The president is doing everything in his power to lower costs, to blunt gas prices, as he has been doing, and we have done that. So I just want to speak about Kate for a second, because I think this is really important. I've known Kate since 2007. She is a friend and she is a colleague. She is exceptionally talented, and she will be greatly missed. Her smart skills and hard work helped get the president elected and has helped us accomplish so much since we've been here. And like I said, on a personal note, she's a good friend and a colleague, and we are going to miss her. Now, you're asking me her leaving, and what does that mean, right, to the administration? Look, I don't think her leaving will have effect on what we're trying to do, because look, she leaves behind a talented team in communications department, and the president will name a new communications director. There's nothing new here. These things happen, and I do want to call out a data by Brookings showing that turnover in this administration is below the historical average going back to Reagan. So what we're seeing here is not unusual. What we're seeing here is normal, and what we're going to continue to do is we're going to communicate with the American people in a truthful way, and we're going to do that every day.
Okay.
Jean-Pierre, my sister in Christ. Almost everything that she said was a lie. If it wasn't a lie, it was a mistruth. Okay? It is stunning to me that this is what we've devolved to. You know, at least back in the day, just as early as the Trump administration, at least the facts were there. You know, and you could tell the truth. None of that was truthful. What was truthful about it? This is 100% a horrible economy. Joe Biden's not doing what's necessary to make gas prices lower. And we just learned that he's selling stuff to the Chinese, our fuel to the our reserves to the Chinese, through people connected to Hunter Biden. Like, this reminds me of like a mafia. You know, it reminds me of a mafia, a crime family, if you will. You know, these people are committing crimes, but they're trying to put forth this you know, this image to the world where they're innocent and sweet and they're just trying to help the people. Good God. Joe Biden doesn't even understand what a flavor of Jell-O is, let alone the suffering of the American people. Agreed. Go Kerry. Like Trump, DeSantis 2024, and the DeSantis in the next 8 years to fix this country, the world. Man, I'm at this point, I mean, I think that we could probably fix this nation in less than 8, if I'm being honest, but I really do hope that whoever comes after this next person, this next Republican in office, is also a Republican and continues really pushing the economy into a much better place. Because we have a lot to fix. Sri Lanka is not selling gas to its citizens and is asking Russia for help with oil. Pretty much chaos right now. I really tried not to watch this person. It really makes me mad when I am lied to. That's what she does, man. We're living the TV show Spin City. Yeah. I like that show. At least the Red Witch was better to stomach somewhat. This puppet behind the podium as well. A puppet. They were all puppets, though. Including Saki. I don't know. I had a pretty strong unpopular feeling at this administration. Trying to get me fired for the last 2 years. Are we living in idiocracy? God. We're not fully there yet because the vast majority of the American people are not that stupid. It just makes it feel like the nation is stupid because we have a mainstream media that has the largest platform that is trying to repeat stupid stuff. And you have the social media platforms out there making it seem like the leftists are a much larger group than they actually are. She can't fall. She's surrounded by the piles of towers on her own bullshit to keep her standing. Yeah. Biden World sounds like a really boring theme park. It'll probably have a lot of ice cream. Not a lot of stairs. We're going to avoid the stairs at Biden World. I can tell you one thing about Biden World. None of the SUVs or limos there are going to be... None of them are going to have access to the driver's area, to the driver's cab. Okay? We don't need superhumans jumping in there, choking out security guards, and then taking the wheel. The rats are fleeing the sinking ship. I think it's interesting that, like, they're talking about how they have a low turnover, but it's like, it's pretty clear that many of these people are leaving, because some of them have said it. They're leaving because it is so toxic in the background. This especially applies to Kamala Harris. You know, she has had people abandon her left and right. And yeah, every administration has their employee turnover. I mean, it's a very, very hard job. I mean, you look at everyone from Obama and Reagan and, you know, George W. Bush. I mean, in the time that they were in office, they aged considerably while they were in there. You know, I mean, it's a hard job to do. It's just, so I can understand, but I just feel like the pressure that is on, especially Biden's communication team, because Biden's communication team, literally their job is to lie to the American people and keep up this delusion. And after a while, I just imagine that after being called out over and over and over and over and over again, you just start to really feel it, you know? What's up, Susie? Why is KGP looking at her notes to describe someone who supposedly knows well? That kind of struck me too, Susie. Believe it or not. I saw that. And I was like, why are you looking at I mean, she was clearly reading off something. Are our notes pre-prepared? And when I say no, I mean, obviously she has to improv. That's part of her job. She improvs a lot, right? She gets talking points and she talks to them. But I mean, like, she was literally reading off something about her friend. That was weird. Been listening, watching, just multitasking. But KGP has to be one of the least convincing spokespeople I've ever seen. Agreed. Kind of miss the Red Witch. She at least tried to lie better. The fact that the reporter in the room isn't doing the fake cough bull is actually infuriating. Not unexpected, but infuriating. Dude, for real. Expired ice cream, avoid the stairs. Bikes and press questions. That's actually one of the games. People start asking you questions and you have to run across the room as fast as possible. Guys, I don't want this to be I know it looks grim, but here comes my unrelenting optimism. The more that they do this stuff, the more that they piss us off in this way, the more the American people wake up to it. Right? Someone said this the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. Someone said that the loss that Trump suffered in 2020 was bad for Democrats and incredibly good for Republicans. And it's absolutely true. While it would still be nice to have, and maybe not necessarily good for America, while it would still be nice to have a president who knows what he's doing in office, this whole entire thing has really woken up a lot of people to just how nonsensical and stupid the Democrats actually are, how incompetent and corrupt they actually are. And the more stories like this come out, the more they stand in front of us and attempt to convince us of absolute lies, the more damage they do to their party, the more likely it is that they're going to be out of office for a very long time. I think that between this, the Democrat civil war that is currently ramping up a little bit, you're going to have a Democrat party that is about to go through a major change. Okay? But one of the things that is going to happen during that change is that they're not going to be able to support themselves as far as running for office and winning elections goes. The red wave, I think, is not just a wave. I think it's going to be a tsunami. And I think that, to be honest with you, if we're looking at the grand scheme, pulling back and playing not just 4D chess, we're playing 8D chess, just like the Chinese, then I would be willing to say that this was probably ultimately better for us. Not just Republicans, but for Americans. Because we're learning just how incompetent and corrupt and radical these people are. I hate to say that, but it might actually be true. We might actually be experiencing something of a political revolution in this country because of how horrible Democrats have been. If you look back through history, you'll notice that a lot of these revolutions come whenever a certain political party or organization or group has used and abused the people so much that they got tired of it. Here in America, we have the ability to get rid of these people without the use of firearms and guns. And I guarantee you that's coming. Right? Senate, the House, it's all going to go Republican here in the midterms. Okay? We have Supreme Court justices who are not leftist activists. They overrule the leftist activists, as you can see, due to the death of Roe v. Wade. All right, so we're going to have those three branches, plus we're going to have the executive branch. At this point in time, I do not see how Democrats pull this one out. Not even years from now. I don't see it. So, it may seem like we live in some very dark times. We do. But it can't be dark all the time. It can't rain all the time. As it says in The Crow. So, keep your chin up. Don't get too despondent, too dejected. Things are going to turn around. I know it. I feel it. We Americans are a resilient bunch. All right? We can make the best out of a bad situation and make it even better. That's what we've done historically. We've done it before. We'll do it again. I'm having a great day, and I don't think the world is going to last. Yep, you're right. I do think things are turning around slowly, maybe, but I think it's happening. Yeah, it is slowly happening. I mean, even woke culture is starting to lose its ground. You'll notice that even certain companies, Netflix, Paramount, you know, they're all starting to push back against these people, and it's about time. It's about time. History in the making over the next 4 years. Get the popcorn. Going to be a fun ride. Exactly. You know what? I mean, this show, I guarantee there's going to be a lot of celebrations to be had on this show in particular. So be sure to be here. Do it all. But the suffering they inflict along the path to the better day will only be fixable by one, and that one isn't Trump or DeSantis. That means not just these hurts here in the nation. I'm talking about that's all over the world. Only one. Have a good weekend, folks. John, you have a good weekend, man. Good conversation today, guys. Thanks for being here. Agreed. Thank y'all so much. Have a great weekend. Remember, stay baked and stay bearded. Amen to that. Guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me on this Friday. Again, go to redstate.com. There's going to be a lot more coming up today alone. Sign up for the VIP program. Use promo code Morse, M-O-R-S-E, on sign up. Follow me at the Brandon Morse on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. The Brandon Morse Live. Go follow me there on Instagram. I'm gonna be paying way more attention to that in the near future. And have a good weekend, guys. Get out there. Put the politics down for a moment. Go step in the sunshine and hug your kids, pet your dog, say hi to your neighbor, eat good food, drink a good drink. And I will see you guys on Monday. Peace. Oh, and like the stream.